Monty, how are you?
I am good, Bob. Good to
Good.
be here.
Well, as always, thank you for being a part of this new series on the Sanctuary channel. I know you've heard of Intense Records and Pastor Bob Beeman and stuff, but some of the artists that we are interviewing for this weren't necessarily a part of that, but you're very much in tune with the history of Christian rock and the genre, and what everything that was ever put into Heaven's Metal magazine and stuff. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you are I assume that you are in Kansas City.
I am. Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. Kansas City, Missouri. Okay.
Yeah, some people think it's Kansas, but no, it's Missouri. We're right on the border, but I'm over in Missouri.
Okay, I have a friend that lives in Olathe, Kansas, and we drive through Kansas City to get through Kansas City. Yeah, but I saw the first thing I saw there were the Chiefs, and I'm a Packer guy, so we'll see if we can still get along here.
All right, we'll try.
But so here you are, and when I put up the original artwork for this series, some of the bands people just have known and still follow from this Sanctuary group, from these groups. But when there were two groups specifically that people were like, wow, it's so cool to hear from them again. One was, we interviewed Frank Hart last week from Atomic Opera.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week and people were just like, wow, it's going to be cool to hear from anybody from Galactic Cowboys again. And so, you guys got to start in quite a few years ago in the 90s. And I'll be honest with you, there were three groups as a young Christian kid and youth group growing up. My brother introduced me to, and the first two were King's X and Galactic Cowboys. And I oftentimes thought, when I became a music buyer and then Atomic Opera came out, I was thinking, anything that this Sam Taylor puts his hands to, they're a good group when he's at the helm and producing. And but then I just followed you guys, every album you're putting out. And so I thought you'd talk to us a little bit, just to lay the groundwork. When did Galactic Cowboys start? When did you form, and what's the backstory on that?
Okay. Well, it actually kind of goes back into the 80s. Myself and Alan Doss, which is the drummer for Galactic Cowboys, and he also produced our last album and so forth. We were in a band, a Christian band, actually. Morgan Cryer was this Christian artist back in the middle.
I remember that name.
And and he hired us to be his backup band. And we toured around with him for about a year and played Cornerstone and some of those festivals and stuff like that. And he let us go after a year. He was going to do his own thing with the backing tracks kind of thing.
Okay. The 80s thing to do. And
which I don't understand, but I told him, well, Morgan, you can do what you want, but I wouldn't walk across the street to see that. But so anyway, we were jobless at that point, so we started a band with another guy, and we had The Awful Truth for about a year, a band called The Awful Truth, which eventually had an album out on Metal Blade. And that broke up actually before the album even came out. I left the band, and Alan came with me, and we said, hey, let's start a new band. And so we were, I think that was around 89, 88, 89. And we started this band, and we picked up Ben Huggins and Dane Saunier and formed, and it just was instant chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Taylor was going to manage us at that point, and he put us on a little tour opening for King's X for I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks. We were out with them, and before we even came back, we had a record deal offer, and we got bagged at a showcase and got signed within 6 months of getting together.
Oh yeah.
And we signed a major, huge deal with Geffen Records, and they told us we were going to be huge. And then along came Nirvana, and they just kind of forgot about us after that. But we put out 2 albums with them, and it didn't turn out like we wanted, but we did put out a couple of really good albums.
Oh yeah, I mean, your first album you put out was just self-entitled, correct?
Yeah, just Galactic Cowboys.
And it had the iconic skier on the front cover and
spaceship-looking skier thing.
Yeah, and then the next one the first one was phenomenal. The very first song, you just instantly heard the hard rock. You heard the great music and the harmonizing that you guys brought to the table as well when you sang was very reminiscent of a couple other bands going on during that time.
Yeah, I mean, we mixed the Beatle harmonies with what I was really into at the time, which was thrash metal. I was into Metallica and Anthrax and Megadeth and all that stuff, and
okay,
took that and put it with harmonies, and I think we came up with something kind of unique that maybe people weren't even ready for yet.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of people didn't know what to do with it, and so consequently it was hard to market, and I don't think it really got the exposure that we were hoping for. And they put us on Geffen put us on a tour with Overkill, our first time out, and
okay.
It was just a really tough match, it's like the fans would dig the music, but then we'd start singing these harmonies, and they just weren't ready for that or something. But
right, well, it sounds like what Frank said about Atomic Opera, and his show aired a week before this, but he said they were too mellow for the metal crowd and too heavy for the mellow, for the heavy. How it goes, and
that was the problem sometimes for us. It was like the King's X crowds usually got us. And that was always a good tour. We ended up going out with Dream Theater for one of their biggest tours, and that was a good tour. We actually went to Europe with Anthrax, and that actually went really well.
Wow.
I think the European fans were a little more open-minded about stuff, and so they didn't really give us a hard time at all. In fact, we picked up a lot of fans from that. So
that's cool. Yeah. And I could see that because my brother, when he was in Bible college in Minneapolis, him and a group of his friends were avid King's X fans, and that's actually where I first heard of them. But then I came up to visit him one weekend, and he goes, "You need to listen to this group," and he threw on Galactic Cowboys, and that was a little after the first album came out. But then I believe your second album was Space in Your Face. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like launching? I mean, here you are with Morgan Cryer, and I honestly, the only thing I remember of Morgan Cryer was at the point I was in the music bookstore buying businesses that he was always in the discount bin.
Yeah.
So you came out of that, and you got signed to Geffen. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be huge. I mean, they promised us we were going to be the biggest band in the world, and then the first thing that happened was they were waiting to put out the new Guns N' Roses album.
Okay.
In, the Illusion, Use Your Illusion, or whatever it was. And we waited around a year for them to put out that album.
Wow.
Because we had our album done, we were ready to go, and we were just, couldn't wait to get out there and let people hear it and go on tour. And they just kept going, "No, we can't put it out yet," And so we kept waiting, and they finally put it out. Well, unfortunately, right around the time we were going to release it, the same guy that signed us said, "Hey, I signed a new band." And we're like, "Oh yeah, who?" And he's like, "This little band, Nirvana."
Ah.
We're like, "Oh, really? Well, cool." And he's like, yeah, we don't expect him to do much, but you guys, you're the.
Huh.
By the time we put ours out, they were just about to release theirs, and when they put out, that first single, it just exploded, and all the attention from the record company just went to them, and we were just kind of lost in the shuffle. And so
do you think it was was it the genre of music, the grunge, that set them up above you, or was it just the money that the record label decided to sink their money into to launch?
Yeah, I mean, there was a kind of changeover at that place, at that time, and it just, everybody saw the money that grunge could bring in, and they just were like, well, why should we mess with this? And it happened to a lot of bands. It wasn't just us, but we were like firsthand. I mean, it was like we were in the same, building as Nirvana, and it just it didn't work out well. Everything was kind of changing over, so it happened.
Yeah. So, are you? People are going to want to know the obvious question. Are you a fan of the grunge movement? Or are you more of the?
There's some stuff I like. I loved Alice in Chains. If they're grunge, I still like them. I always loved them. I liked some of the Nirvana stuff. I thought their drummer was awesome. Stuff like that. Never a big fan of Soundgarden.
Okay.
All the others, but whatever. I'm more of a metal guy. So.
Sure.
Feel that way.
Yeah. Well, I think the crowd that follows is into all of this is also probably more into like the Dream Theater and Rush and stuff like that. That would be my assumption.
Into us, that's into us.
Those that follow. I think what I've come to figure out is people that say I like King's X or I like Galactic Cowboys or a few of the other bands along that genre would also say I'm totally into Rush, I'm totally into Dream Theater. These. I'm not a huge music guy, but I've heard the phrase math rock. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I think a lot of people that like us they're into a little more progressive stuff, and they're probably just a little more adventurous musically. They're not gonna be just listening to the radio, waiting for to hear AC/DC again or whatever. They're adventurous people that like to be exposed to new stuff, and when they hear us, they go, hey, that's different.
Yeah, right.
You have to check this stuff out. So I think that's been a lot of our crowd, a lot of musicians, those kind of people that like interesting music.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And eventually you guys, is it right to say that eventually the Galactic Cowboys became more independent?
As far as what?
Like with your record labels and
Yeah, I mean, after our second album, Geffen actually dropped us. We were out on tour, and we got a call one day that just said, "Yeah, they're going to drop you." And so we went home that day, jumped on a bus, drove back to Houston, and said, "What are we going to do now?" And I just immediately started writing new songs and said, "Hey, let's just keep going," And
what was going through your head? I mean, you're on tour, record label says you're getting dropped. Is there a sense of panic, or is there a sense of like we're free now, or what? No,
it was pretty depressing, because what do you do then? You got to start all over as far as, okay, well, let's find somebody to push the demos, let's get re-signed, let's all this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest, we went through some really tough times.
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe a year or so that we, you know, just struggled, and we finally actually broke up. Actually, a couple of guys just said, you know, I'm done. Dane left and quit the band, and Alan was gonna, but then like right at that time, we got a call from Brian Slagle from Metal Blade, and he had heard our demos. We were getting these demos out there, and he heard the demos, and he said, I think these are awesome. You know, let's sign you guys and make some more albums. And
yeah.
And at that point, Alan was like, okay, I'm back in. You know? So we got back together. We picked up a new guitar player and made our third album, Machine Fish, and followed up with about 4 more. And I lose track, but we did all those and remained a band on Metal Blade till I think almost 2000. And
okay.
At that point, we called it quits for a while, and I went on and did a solo project, and so did Ben, and Dane had done other albums and so forth with his band, and
yeah.
So we broke up for a while, and we eventually got back together and did some reunion shows, and then actually got re-signed about 3 years ago to do another album, and which we did, and so we still get out there and play once in a while. We haven't toured in a while, but you know, it's still fun to get out there and play.
Yeah, well, it always seemed like, you know, during those years of like Machine Fish and on, I always it wasn't unusual to see write-ups or interviews or things like that in the Heaven's Metal magazine. You know, it seemed like perhaps Doug Van Pelt was just like, I mean, those that know Galactic Cowboys love Galactic Cowboys. Yeah. And it feels like he was doing his part. You know, a lot of people were. And when I was a music buyer, I'd see the Machine Fish album come in, then a couple more. And it just was like, it was one of these go team kind of moments. Like, we're going to, you know, let's get this thing going.
Well, Doug Van Pelt's a great guy. He's always been very supportive of Galactic Cowboys. I think our first album, you know, was like his album of the year or whatever, and he's just like always supportive. And he even supported my solo stuff. Like he loved, you know, my first Crunchy album, and you know, so he's a great guy. I've hung out with him many times, and
yeah,
love Doug.
Well, I know there's a picture floating around of you and Doug, and I forget who the other person was at Cornerstone, probably in the merch tent. And
yeah, he had me play his stage there a couple times with I have a solo band called Crunchy.
Yeah.
That, you know, plays gigs once in a while, and he invited me up to play a Crunchy gig at in Minnesota. I think, yeah, like that festival in Minnesota that he had.
Okay.
Is that it? Is it called Sunshine?
Sunshine Fest, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one I played with him.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. Well, help me. So, for those that are wondering, and we talked about this a little bit before, and I think it's a good conversation. We're not going to get heavy here, but Galactic Cowboys, they kind of got tagged as a Christian band when they first came out. But I think it's a healthy thing, a healthy model for a band like you guys and many others who say, yeah, we're Christian, but we're not like, you're not going to get an altar call at the end of one of our shows, you know? And it's not to say they're non-Christian or, you know, there's too many things that we could say, this is what makes a Christian band, but that falls flat on its face. You guys have just kind of maintained, hey, this is who I am, this is what we do, and you know, maybe you could just talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we never claimed that we're a Christian band, or we never even really wanted to be considered that or be in that market. We just always wanted to be considered a rock band, you know, metal band, whatever, and just take us at that. And if you like the music, cool. If you like what we're saying and it speaks to you somehow, that's cool too. You know, we're just going to write songs that we feel at the time and present it as art.
There you go.
So that's where we came from day one. We never labeled ourselves anything like that. We just, here we are. We're a band. So that's where we came from. A lot of the songs that were on our first few albums did have spiritual overtones, about spiritual things. I wrote songs about God and however I was feeling at the time. I also wrote songs about circles in the fields and things in space and
oh yeah,
love and whatever. But the spiritual side was there too. And so
yeah. Well, I'm reminded, the words of St. Augustine, who said, all truth is God's truth. And so if someone's listening to your band and they hear words that are resonating with them, that's a positive thing, and I think, honestly, I can listen to mainstream albums more and draw some solid truths and inspiration from than top 40 CCM or something like that. It's...
I went through the whole CCM thing, and I was not a big fan.
Yeah.
I found a lot of it really phony, and I was kind of turned off by it all, by the whole industry part of it. And I was, firsthand in those Christian labels, working around all those people. And I'm not bad-mouthing everybody.
Sure.
There's good people and bad people and everything. But as a whole, I just, I didn't really like a lot of that went on and everything. It just came off as phony. And so, started the new band, and I just wanted to, rock. And, I wanted to express myself and be out in the real world. I don't want to be sheltered over here in this little, pool of, bands that, have this audience because of what they believe. I want to get out there and just play for everybody.
Yeah, and play you did. I was able to take in a few Galactic Cowboy shows, and one of the most memorable ones is Summerfest, which is in Milwaukee, my hometown, and it's the world's largest music festival. And you and King's X one year showed up. I was like, you got to be kidding me. It was just a fantastic show. And then I saw you, I believe it was once in the Twin Cities you played, that I caught you guys once at. But so you mentioned that Galactic Cowboys got a record label, and let's talk current days here. What's in the future for Galactic Cowboys?
We don't really know. We signed with a label that's overseas, and they put out the album, but then didn't really promote it, and so it just kind of quickly died. And so I don't know. I don't know if we'll do another album, and with the way things are going right now, who knows if anybody's ever tour again. It's ridiculous, but that's another story. But I'm more than willing to talk about that.
We can take a whole another hour on that.
Yeah, but who knows what the future holds for anything at this point. So I'm just doing what I do right now, which is painting and doing podcasts, and if the opportunity to play comes around again and we feel like it's worth doing, I'd be into doing another album. I just don't know really what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and that leads me up to the next point. So what are you up to these days? I have a website up on the screen right now, montycolvinart.com. And maybe just, you designed a lot of your Galactic Cowboy albums. Your artwork is very, very evident. And I know you did a few things for Heaven's Metal. I've seen Doug has a profile picture as well and stuff. Yeah. But so you're doing artwork and what else?
Yeah. Well, I when I went to college as a young person, I I got a degree in art, and so I've always done that for years. But just recently, well, going back a few years ago, I got an opportunity to do murals for the School of Rock here in Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
I did all these big, huge murals of rock stars, and it was just a blast. And I woke up one day and I thought, why don't I do those murals on smaller canvases and sell them?
Yeah.
And so I started a website and where I have paintings of, rock stars, celebrities, all kinds of stuff like that, and some of my own things. But I just do paintings, and people commission me, and I sell paintings now, and that's pretty much what I do every single day. Is just paint all day, and it's just really been a blessing. I love doing it. I've always wanted to do this for a living, and it's the best job I've had since being a full-time musician. So,
and you do well at it. I mean, anybody that's on your Facebook page sees your work and is, it's very well done.
There's one I'm working on right now, Zach Wilde.
Zach Wilde, yes.
Yeah, it's not done, but stuff like this, they're smaller and people can afford them. And then I do bigger things, and I'll do any size you want. But that's the kind of stuff I do now, and.
Very cool. And you're for hire if somebody wanted to hire you to do something.
Yeah, I do. Like I was talking to you, if you want a profile pic of yourself, I'll do a painting of you. You can use it as a profile pic. I do, paintings of people's, family members. All that kind of stuff. But my favorite thing is to do like the rock stars. Sold one to Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick. And,
oh yeah, that was a good one. He was holding it upside down.
Yeah, yeah. So that's fun. I did one that Billy Sheehan has, and so it's been a lot of fun.
So 2 questions I always ask before we end a podcast or a video like this is what is one of your most memorable concert experiences as the Galactic Cowboys?
Okay. Probably the one I remember the most was a festival in Holland called Dynamo. It's called the Dynamo Festival. Metal Blade got us on that festival. And we played, I think Slayer played that day. Like, what are we doing on the same stage with Slayer?
Wow.
That heavy. But, we went on and played and went over well. And so... but it was like, walked out there and there's like 20, 30,000 people. And
wow, that's something.
It was awesome. And so that was probably the most memorable. Another weird one I'll tell you about real quick was we got asked to replace Stryper at the Green Festival in England before our album was even out. They were supposed to headline this festival show. And once again, there was 20,000 people. Okay. And we go on in the headlining spot. And no one there knew who we were. And we went out there and we rocked for like an hour and a half. And we got done and they brought us out for an encore. And we're just like,
outstanding.
They like us. They don't know who we are, but they like us. And so... that was one of the weirdest things, but it was awesome because, wow, we've never played. You weren't
wearing the yellow and black spandex, were you?
No, we skipped the beat costumes.
Yes.
Went on in our shorts.
There you go.
Underwear, but shorts.
That had to be unnerving to just see the headlining act and your album's not even out yet.
Yeah, it was like, how did we get here? What are we doing? But... hey, all right.
Take it as it comes.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and then the last question I always ask, and if you're following it or not, but what is your take on depending on who we're talking with, we'll say what's your thought on the Christian metal scene, or what's your thought on the rock metal scene today?
The rock metal scene in general, you really have to look for stuff. If you want anything new by any new bands, you've really got to search for it.
Yeah.
You know, I go on. What I do actually is I go on this thing called new album releases, and you know, it's got a picture of the album cover and maybe a video of the band. And you know, a lot of times I'll go, "This looks interesting." So at that point, I go to YouTube and I'll watch some of their videos. And there's been a lot of times I go, "Man, this band's really cool." You know, I've never heard of them, but you know, and then I'll go, you know, check it out. But I have to search for it, because you're not going to find, from what from my experience, you're not going to find anything new and cool on the radio.
No, you're right.
And I don't know, it's everything's kind of stagnant right now. You know, I'm not hearing a ton of new stuff that's that exciting, but I mean, I have my favorite bands. You know, the Wild Hearts, people like that are making incredible stuff that I'm a fan of. But I don't know, there's not a ton of new stuff, but there's some good stuff out there. I think everyone's kind of in a state of, you know, unknowing right now. I don't see a lot of new releases and things like that.
The crazy world.
There's still a few classic, cool, you know, bands. I'm a big Rammstein fan.
Okay.
You know, I had tickets to see them in Chicago this summer, and it got postponed because of this stupid virus thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's a band that puts on the most amazing show I've ever seen. And so there's still some exciting stuff out there, but it's hard to find.
Got to look for it. Yeah. I found, you know, even across all genres, you just can't go to the radio and turn on something unless it's like a college frontier radio sort of thing or something like that. But otherwise, those are few and far between.
Yeah.
So
really is.
MontyColvin.art or MontyColvinArt.com is
there
your
you
website. Go. And they can find you on Facebook as well, but I'm guessing all your links are right on that website.
Yeah, I mean, I'm posting new paintings on there all the time. If excuse me, if you're interested in anything, just send me a message. I answer all my messages. I'm a nice guy, so you know, don't be afraid. Just drop me a line, and you know, if you're interested in any of that. But or if you've got any questions about anything, you know, I also do a podcast. It's called Monty's Rockcast.
Okay.
And you know, I put out a show every month, and I talk about music, pop culture, Galactic Cowboys.
Nice. Okay.
All that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you want to check that out, that'd be cool.
It's Monty's Rockcast is the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, man, thanks so much for sharing a few minutes with us. And that's good for all your fans to catch up and, you know, just to sit down, talk about music. And it's good seeing you.
All right. It's good being here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, you take care. Have a good one.